Hello, my name is Kathy Jameson, the Proposition Lady, and I'm here to help you understand the propositions on your 2022 California state election ballot. Today I'm going to walk you through Prop 29, the Dialysis Clinics Requirements Initiative. Are you ready? Let's get started. Prop 29 would require dialysis clinics to have at least one physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant present while patients are being treated. It would also require dialysis clinics to report data on dialysis-related infections and disallow them from discriminating against patients based on their source of payment. In addition, clinics would be required to provide the California Department of Health with a list of anyone who has more than a 5% interest in the clinic. They would also be required to give patients a list of any physician who owns a 5% or more interest in their clinic. Lastly, it would require clinics to obtain written consent from the Department of Health before closing a clinic. Wait a minute now. Isn't this starting to sound a little bit familiar? As Yogi Berra once said, this is like deja vu all over again. What's going on? What will happen? As for what's going on, the conventional wisdom is that the Service Employees International Union, or SEIU, has been trying for some time to unionize the dialysis clinics, and they're using the ballot measure process to put pressure on the clinics. The SEIU denies this and says they're just trying to do some good in the world, citing their efforts to add ballot measures in other states. For example, they've sponsored ballot measures to raise the minimum wage, expand Medicaid, and to help fund safety net hospitals and clinics. The measures they sponsor are typically designed to benefit their union members. As far as California is concerned, we've had SEIU-sponsored dialysis clinic measures on the last two ballots. In 2018, they asked us to approve Prop 8, a measure that would require dialysis clinics to refund patients for revenue above 115% above the costs of direct patient care. The dialysis clinics spent $111 million to defeat it, and the measure lost, with nearly 60% of Californians voting no. In 2020, they asked us to approve Prop 23, a measure that would require dialysis clinics to have an on-site physician while treatment is being performed, to report data on dialysis-related infections, to obtain consent before closing a clinic, and not discriminate against patients based on their source of payment. The dialysis clinics spent $105 million to defeat it, and the measure lost, with over 63% of Californians voting no. Hello? Wake up, please. Do you mind? We've got some voting to do. Even though both of those measures failed to pass, were they actually defeats for the SEIU? If their aim was to squeeze the dialysis clinics for money and bring awareness to conditions during treatment, then one could argue that those losses were in fact wins. Time to follow the money, folks. So far, the SEIU has spent about $8 million in support of this measure, while the dialysis clinics have spent about $86 million in opposition. But what does any of that have to do with you? And how does the background affect your vote? Well, you may be so annoyed with the SEIU for putting this on the ballot year after year that you decide to vote no just out of spite. You may also wonder whether you should just give in and say yes, hoping the SEIU will give up and stay off the ballot in 2024. But neither of those choices is based on the content of the proposition itself. So let's take a moment to look at Prop 29 at face value. Some people who receive treatment at dialysis clinics complain that there's more of a focus on profit than on safety. Technicians report feeling pressure to increase the speed of dialysis machines in order to get patients in and out faster. This practice can cause issues for patients, and while a doctor is on call at each clinic, they are not physically present to ensure this doesn't happen. If you're concerned about patient care during the dialysis process, you might want to vote yes on Prop 29. That said, the majority of dialysis treatments occur without issue, and staffing all 600 clinics in California with a physician or other medical professional will be an extra expense, the cost of which may well be passed on to patients. What's more, we're facing a shortage of medical professionals in California, so some argue the new requirements take valuable resources away from hospitals unnecessarily. If you're worried about that, you may want to vote no on Prop 29. In addition, the extra expense could force some clinics to close, which would also hurt patients. That's another reason to vote no on 29. That said, DaVita and Fresenius, the two companies who run most of the 600 clinics in California, raked in roughly $2 billion in profits over the last few years. So while they may threaten to close clinics if the measure passes, they could arguably afford to cough up some dough and improve patient safety. If that resonates with you, you might want to vote yes on Prop 29. Regulating the for-profit dialysis business can be messy and complicated. Many argue that regulating this industry should be left to the experts. If that makes sense to you, consider voting no on 29. Look, I can go back and forth with rationale for both sides all day long. It's what I do. I'm the proposition lady. But when I've talked to people who would be directly affected by this legislation, I find no consensus for how to move forward. It seems to me that patients could be negatively impacted whether or not Prop 29 passes. So I'll just leave it here with some honest feedback about Prop 29. This is one of those where it's a little bit hard to root for either side. On the one side, we've got a union who, for whatever reason, takes up our time year after year by adding this issue to the ballot again and again and again and again. And on the other side, we've got wealthy, for-profit dialysis clinics who seem to have a lot of cash to spend defeating these propositions, but maybe don't spend as much as they could to ensure patient safety. It's a tough call. Oh well, too bad for us. That's just how the ballot crumbles sometimes. We've still got to decide how to vote, and I hope this video helped your understanding of what you're voting on. That's all for now, folks. Please visit the Proposition Lady channel for information on all 7 of the 2022 California state ballot measures. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I also encourage you to host your own proposition party to discuss the ballot measures with your friends. But most of all, don't forget to think independently and come to your own conclusions. There are 2 sides to every story, and I hope you'll consider both before casting your vote. I'm here for you. We can do this. I'm Kathy Jameson, the Proposition Lady, and I appreciate you being here with me today. See you soon, California voters. Bye now.